Alright, we're back. Noise violations. Okay, this one we got to pull the bearings off so we can do the job. Like that. Okay, so now this one. Wipe all this crap off of here. Very tight. Yeah, it might have been only hand tight. Okay, either way it's out now. So same deal, gotta wipe out the tapers. Junk out of there. Okay, so we do the same thing. This taper's like the last one. It's nice and shiny on these tapers, well burnished. Make sure your surfaces are clean. No junk getting in anything. Doesn't hurt to blow out your oil galleries and make sure there's nothing hidden in there that you don't want in there. When you blow air through, you also want to make sure you feel air coming out both holes. This is a 2-hole crank pin. You can see I blew out some crud there, some oil residue, so wipe that off. I've had these things where one hole's plugged up, or you have a 3-hole crank pin, one will be plugged. So you blow through here and you make sure you feel air coming out this side here, and you feel everything. Even flow coming out of both sides. If one feels a little light on one side, it's got crap in the hole. Get it cleaned out. You don't want that junk coming out down the road into your bearings. It'll screw up the rod bearings, which will kill the motor. So this is a cheap import crank pin. It's nice, round, and straight and true within 1/10. S&S is out 2.5 tenths. Out of round. The taper is within 10ths, but it was 2.5 tenths out. Taper is not as bad as out of round. Out of round's bad. So, but this is not nearly as good as material as the S&S. So they are what they are. And we're not going to use any lock tabs on this project. That'd be these stupid things here. After you put the nut on here, you're supposed to put the lock tab on here, and you're supposed to tighten it up enough that the lock tab with a screw go in there so it can stay in there where it belongs. See, this one's half a hole off, so you have to flip it over. See if it comes in a different spot. Whatever it takes to make it work. You're not supposed to just beat them on there with a hammer like a lot of people do. Like I said, if you got to tighten the nut down more, you tighten it more. That's how you're supposed to do it anyway. So this one here I'm a little bit too tight, so I have to go a lot more before I can put it in. You tighten it more. You don't loosen it up to put it on. You could slot the hole out on this, I guess, and do it that way, but whatever. The thing is, these don't keep the nuts tight. I've seen a lot of motors when the nuts are off the flywheel and these are still on there. And the nuts are loose. They don't do anything. I don't use them. Harley quit using them. We use Loctite. Once again, you think it helps you and it doesn't really do what it's supposed to. Okay, these are all loose in here. They should be tight, but they're not. So once again, we're putting Loctite on all this stuff. Let me blow this up. You're so far away you can't see anything. Now this one has an oil hole in here, so you want to make sure you don't get anything on the oil hole. And you want to stay 2/3 of the way down from the edge. If you get close to the oil hole, wipe it off. You don't want it in the oil hole. So you get over there, you stop, wipe off the excess on the thread just for the hell of it. You use red on the thread. So this one I'm using 263, which is a higher performance version of the red, and this is a Permatex sleeve retainer. It says sleeve retainer on it. So Loctite has one too. They both work about equal as far as I can tell. Slip that in there, make sure the key is out of the way on both sides. Okay, that goes in by hand. It's good. And here's the other shaft. Now, this is the one I had to modify because they made it wrong. They just had a threaded hole over here with no chamfer, so I had to cut the chamfer in there on center. So there's a video of me showing me doing that in the lathe. And this shaft is very, very hard, so I did not want to cut. So they made it hard on me. This one once again has an oil hole too, you got to watch out for. Right on the threads. And put it on there like it's supposed to. Now let's see if this nut fits this one, because it did not fit the other shaft. And as you can tell, the shoulder here means you're supposed to tighten this side against the flywheel. You can see how it's been tightened there on backwards. So V-twin assembled it backwards. It's supposed to be against this side. So they did it wrong. What a shocker. And this nut doesn't fit anything. Great. Let's put on backwards and see if it fits better. Okay, when you put on backwards, it goes on further. So this nut definitely came off of this shaft. I'm going to put this nut on correctly though, which means it's going to go on a little tight initially. So there's threading that's not the best on these shafts, obviously. Okay, went right on. A little torque. Do this one. Okay, we got a nut on there. Okay, they're tight. So then we take them over the press and a press job. Where somebody here would help. If they're around here, they can see what's going on better. I don't think there's any way I can do this and have me actually working here at the same time. Get rid of that piece of crap out of my way. Okay, you might be able to see the torque wrench over here. I'm not sure. Should have a good view of my back. Yeah, we'll see how this works. Okay, we got the socket on there already. Okay, crunch on that. So the torque wrench is way down here, so I don't know if you can see it. come up now. Okay, where are we at here? 200 is right over here. It's very soft. It's not really getting tighter as I go down, so quit. Once again, it's about 170. Maybe on video you can see it better, I don't know. Flip it around, let's get the big nut. Adjustment over there. Okay, a little torque. Change out our socket. Now this one we like to see 250 on it. Let's see if we get at least 225. Yeah, I think I got about 275 out of that one. It wasn't going anymore. Once you got 275, I just kind of quit going as I was still going down. Stop. You're fully torqued. Okay, so we got that done. Okay, I get to go back and assemble this thing. Back over here. Okay. First thing I do is wipe it down. Make sure no Loctite got where you don't want it. So I don't see any Loctite residue on this side, which is good. That means I didn't put too much on. You always wipe it just to make sure. Then, the important part, check the airflow. Oop, something fell. So make sure you got airflow through the crank. Right now this hole's open so I can use it. But you have to blow it through this hole right here to do it correctly. And we're looking for airflow out here. Feels good and equal. That's what you want, equal airflow. Okay. Sometimes you do that, it doesn't work. That's bad. You should always have good airflow through your flywheel. But I have had them where they were blocked internally. Easy from silicone. That's why I don't like silicone. Okay, that was clear. Wipe it off one more time just to make sure there's no junk on that. So now we gotta lube this all up. So we got our assembly fixture here, called the broken tranny case. Works pretty good. Never used this before. First time. Well, first time of the day. I did use the other crank. Works pretty good actually. You use a big piece of pipe too if you have one laying around, but yeah, this was laying around so I'm using it. Whatever you got laying around works best for tools. Okay, so we got to lube this up so we can put the bearing stack in here. Stay off the taper, but lubricate everything else. It's fine. On the aluminum cages, the bearings will actually kind of stay put in here, especially when they got oil on them already. Try not to lube the taper on the way down. One bearing fell out because it stuck to my finger. So these ones you can actually stick them into the outside. Push them all in against the crank pin. The oil on the crank pin will help hold the bearing in. So just make sure they all go in there. If they all go in there, then the rod will go right down. If the rod doesn't go all the way straight down, that means the bearing's sticking out. Don't beat it on with a hammer. If you have the late style rollers, the steel cage modern ones they use these days, then you're going to have to push the roller in from the inside out. And it's not a flat surface, they want to fall back in on the inside, so pain in the ass to do. You can do it, but it's really a pain in the butt. It's best to put some kind of a tube on the inside of the bearings to hold them in there. When you buy a new kit, they come with a tube, but when you don't have a kit, you're screwed. Gotta do it the old-fashioned way. Put a little grease on it or whatever you got to hold it and stuff it together. Okay, so that's lubed. Make sure the rod's got oil on them. These ones are already pretty lubed because I did it before. Got oil on them. Make sure the thrust surface is oiled also. Put a little extra on that. I like lining the numbers up on the rods when I do it. See, that'd be a mismatch. When I hone them this way, so that means they're straight. So, make sure the rear rod is the big fat rod and not the other way around. Down pretty easy. A little clearance, not much though. Okay, so those are good to go. Wipe off any oil or grease that got on your taper. One little spot of oil that was on there. Use your finger at the end to make sure. Okay, now when I tighten these down, these might tighten too far and I might have to shorten the rod up and grinding it. I'm hoping I don't have to, but on this flower I wouldn't be surprised if I do. Because the tapers are so soft they suck in pretty good, and when they suck in you lose clearance, so it's a problem. Okay, flywheel's lubed. Pull back a little bit on this. Let's see, where's that at? Always go the wrong direction. Okay. I can take it off our fixture here. Won't fall off now. Okay, put a little oil on, or no oil. Put a little Loctite on here. Try to keep it on the lower 2/3 of the taper. Okay, you don't want this Loctite in there on the bearings. Red. Put a little bit right there, and a little bit on this side over here, and that's enough. It'll spin around in a circle and lubricate it anyway, so. Okay. And if you put the rod straight up and down, this is up straight up and down, it should just slide right together. Like that. Turn it 90 degrees so it holds square. It should be tightened up. So 90 degrees, it should be flat. It's not. I don't know if you can see the big gap there, but there's a gap right there. So it torqued up on this, and now it's over here. Oops. Actually tightened up. Yeah, it's pretty good. So, if it's going to squeeze up on you a little bit, you can cheat and move it over a little bit, or you can put something underneath the flywheel on the other side to tilt it up that way. So when you tighten it, it's straight. See how much straighter it is now? And if you think you're good, go on the other side and check it too. It has a big gap on this side, not as much on the other side, but it's closer. So on this side here, the flywheel needs to be tightened up further. On this side here, it's hardly anything. And it's a little bit more, it's a gap on this side. So you got a gap on that side no matter which side you got. So that means this flywheel is bigger than that flywheel. There you go. Now, how much end play do we have? Oh, we got a ton. See how much is in there? So we got a lot of room for torque. It's a good thing, because we're going to be torquing the piss out of it. Alright. These flywheels have a bigger cutout in them than stock Harley wheels for some reason. So it makes the fat part of the flywheel right here go past my jig here. Usually it's inside of here, but this cutaway is a lot bigger than what Harley's using, I guess. So it gives you less holding power for holding it square. You know, we'll work around it obviously. Okay, put a little squeeze on it right there. And let's see what we get this time. Okay. Where's our number at? 1, 2. That's about 220 right there. And flywheel just moved. Okay. 4 tons of pressure on it. Okay, I'm going to go all the way this time. 250, 60. Man, not really gaining much past 60. I don't think it hit 70, it might have. But only about 260 is all you're getting, and it ain't done no more. And the rod does slide side to side, which is right here. So it's got that in there. We want 18 to 22, and it definitely looks like it has 20 in there. Probably more like 25. I don't care if it's got 50, it just can't be less than 10. 10 is bare minimum. I don't like being that tight, I like it being looser so the oil, you have good oil flow so it stays lubricated. The oil has to get out of the rod to lubricate everything correctly. Alright, last check is to make sure the fat rod is in the back. Pinion side, sprocket side. Skin rod, male rod's in the front, fat one's in the rear. So we put together correctly. It'll be the first time I've done that backwards. Alright, we're good to go now. I'm going to be truing, so that's be next.